Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Today in Titletown Packers podcast. My name is Griff, and you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at AllDayPackers, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend Bron, who you can follow on Instagram at Lambo.Leapers. And we're coming back to you after another week of the Packers not playing football. It gets easier as the days go by. Every day it's a little bit brighter. Today's Championship Sunday. We're actually recording this before the games are going on, so my level of disinterest in football, I don't know if it's ever been higher than it is today. The sour grapes are real, man. I'm so jealous of these teams. How are you doing, Bron?
Yeah, Griff, I'm doing, just about as good as any Packers fan is doing right now, I would say. It does suck. I mean, we are not in the picture today, so it's just like this football. It feels really bad, like you just don't even want to watch, but I don't know, I'll probably turn them on here and there, but yeah, just tough, but we got some stuff to talk about today, unfortunately.
Yeah, we've got no games to talk about, no games to preview, but we're going to talk about the general state of the Packers roster heading into the offseason. I think this is one of the first offseason podcasts we've done, because usually we take some time off in the offseason, but this year, I think we've had our best year on the podcast. This was our third season doing it. This was the most fun I've had, I'd say, and it sounds like you guys want to hear us talk, so we're going to keep doing these podcasts throughout the offseason. Happy to be here. So we're just going to preview the offseason in general. We're going to talk about the offensive side of the ball specifically on today's show, preview every position. Next week, we're going to get into the defense. Eventually, we're going to get into the special teams. Maybe that gets its own episode, maybe not, but we're going to get into all of it. So today, we're doing offense, and I've got some hot takes to talk about that I asked you guys for on my Instagram story, so stay tuned for that. But just to get into it, Bron, where do you want to start? Do we start with the quarterback? So actually, before we get into any of that, we've got some news. So we start with Nathaniel Hackett, offensive coordinator, no longer the offensive coordinator for the Packers. He's been hired by the Denver Broncos to be their head coach. And Luke Getsy, passing game coordinator, quarterback coach for the Packers, he is now Chicago's offensive coordinator under their new head coach, Matt Eberflus. So some changes on the offensive coaching staff, and also Adam Stenavich, offensive line coach, is now the Packers' new offensive coordinator. So do you have any opinions on that, Bron?
Yeah, so everybody's a little concerned, and it makes sense. Like, you're concerned about the fact that we lost our offensive coordinator because Nathaniel Hackett, big Aaron Rodgers guy, did a lot of great things for us when he was with us for the past 3 years, and helped bring fresh ideas to the offense, invigorate the locker room in team meetings, and obviously Aaron Rodgers was a big fan of his. So yeah, it sucks to lose him, and then of course, he wants our assistance and whatnot for his coaching staff, so it's been difficult for Matt LaFleur, I'm sure, to kind of manage like who he wants to make sure that is kept around, but he's kind of done that. So Adam Stenavich will be the Packers' new offensive coordinator. Luke Getsy, you mentioned, Packers quarterbacks coach, he used to be the wide receivers coach under Mike McCarthy, came back. Aaron Rodgers loves him. He's now in Chicago calling plays, which is, that's quite a turnaround for him. And then it looks like the Broncos are going to look to add Justin Outen, beloved tight ends coach for the Packers. We talked to Dominique Daphne and Jay Sternberger in the tight end room for Green Bay over the years, and they love this guy, so definitely that's going to be a loss for sure. But the Packers have a lot of guys they like. They promoted Luke Butkus to as the offensive line coach now to replace Adam Stenavich, which, with his elevation, that should be good too. So a lot of different stuff, moving parts and whatnot. But the idea of adding some fresh ideas into the room could be a good thing for this team and for this offense as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Nathaniel Hackett does as a head coach. It's pretty cool that Matt LaFleur now, comes from the Sean McVay tree, who comes himself from the Kyle Shanahan tree. That's a pretty big tree there. But now Matt LaFleur, he's kind of starting his own tree. And Luke Getsy, he's the most interesting one there because he was, like you said, a part of the McCarthy era. He was McCarthy's wide receiver coach. And Davonte speaks so highly of him, and Rodgers loves him so much that LaFleur actually brought him back to be the quarterback coach and the passing game coordinator. So that's pretty cool. GM Rodgers kind of had his hand in that, but it'll be nice to get some shake-up on the offensive coaching staff because, I don't know, maybe they've grown stagnant with each other. I highly doubt that, but that's about the only optimism I can take from this because hopefully that's the last of the offensive pieces that'll be out the door this offseason, because we get a report this morning, Sunday morning, that from Ian Rappaport that Rodgers is, I have to say, Bron, you did tell me so. Last week, I was a little emotional. I was pretty upset, and I was wrong because it does seem like Rodgers is coming back. So all credit to you there, buddy. But sounds like he's going to come back once again for another last dance, or maybe he's going to come back in 2023. Who knows at this point? But Rappaport also mentioned how the Packers are expected to use the franchise tag on Davonte Adams. So those two guys, they're probably going to be back here, barring any holdouts from Adams or any change of heart from Rodgers. But it sounds like they're going to be back in Green Bay in 2022. So yay, another last dance.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would just like to say, I said this from the beginning, and I said this last year, and I'm going to continue to say it. And just like everybody else is freaking out about everything from left, right, and center, I mean, I'm talking about, everybody just got to kind of calm down and look at the picture and understand, where we're at. And it just made too much sense to get those guys back, and it looks like we will. So that's a good thing. Hopefully, obviously, like you said, barring anything unforeseen, that's where we want to be. That's where I want to be, from a fan standpoint, and with the desire to win football games. That's certainly where I'd like to be. You just really all you have to do is listen to what Aaron Rodgers has said, and that's really all we did, Griff. Remember last year, we just focused on what he said and what we knew, as opposed to the reports coming
YouTube
out.
video.
Yes, that won 3 awards, critically acclaimed as well. And the truth is, Griff, we knew. You just listen to Aaron Rodgers when he talks, and then you take what you can from that. And we kind of did the same thing. And I understand, like, you look at what he talks about, and just the direction that it was pointing to is that he's going to play. And the things he was saying prior to this playoff loss was that he was going to be back here in Green Bay. So, I think he's considering everything, but the signs are pointing to his return, which is exciting for us for sure.
It is exciting that we get another crack at this thing. And I said this kind of earlier on Instagram. A lot of people, I played devil's advocate last week. Not that I agree with these people, but that I do understand their frustration with the fact that it's been how many years now of having Rodgers and reloading every offseason and never being able to get over the hump. This season was just like nail in the coffin for a lot of fans who are just ready to completely blow this thing up. And like I said, I don't agree with that, but I do understand that. But here's the thing you have to remember, or at least think about. This core is able to win a championship. This is a championship team. This team is good enough to win a title. It's been good enough for how many years now? Just things have not gone their way. And that's football. Football deals a lot with variance. There's a lot of luck that goes into football. One block punt lost us that game. One onside kick lost us the game in 2014 against Seattle. A coin toss decides the game in every overtime game. Ask Bills fans. Variance is a real thing in football, so eventually we're stacking up these losses. You have to hope that the luck is going to swing in our direction. And when it does, if it does, just think about how sweet that's going to be, man. When we finally win the title and we finally get Rodgers that second Super Bowl ring and he can get the fairy tale ending like Peyton Manning did after so many years of not winning it. That Rodgers can get that treatment, and that's going to be so nice. And I'm all for bringing Rodgers back, of course, because we love Rodgers on this show. But I'm all for bringing him back, and hopefully next year. Next year's got to be the year. Last year's got to be the year. This year had to be the year. Next year's actually going to be the year when it actually has to be the year, right?
You're right, Griffin. And I mentioned a lot, like the losses, the pain, the suffering that everybody's feeling right now. Players, coaches, fans. The like, I mean, the pain that they're all feeling right now is exactly what makes the eventual victory that we're hoping and praying we get so much sweeter in the end. And it's really all about the journey, and it's the all the steps along the way. And there will be nothing better in this world than to feel that victory in the moment of finally winning another Super Bowl. And as long as we have Aaron Rodgers and Davonte Adams, which, the idea of potentially locking up Rodgers long-term would be awesome, even just for 2 more years. To have an opportunity to not worry about Rodgers' future, to me, would be extremely valuable as a fan, to just the enjoyment of the game. And obviously Davonte as well. Hopefully we can get him locked up long-term. And those are no guarantees, but if we're able to do that, it makes things a lot easier to start building around these guys a little bit more and have a future plan set, lock, and in stone here. So, but yeah, it's all about the end goal, and if we can get there at some point, it'll all be worth it in the end. And Griff, you mentioned you want to see Aaron Rodgers back, and that'll kind of lead us into what we're going to do here today, which is we're going to look at every single player on the offensive side of the ball from the 2021 season, kind of do a bit of a a little personnel assessment, if you will, performance review of every player and see whether this is a guy we want to bring back. Is this a guy that we want to let walk, cut, etc.? What are we going to do with this player moving forward? And we're going to examine the roster starting with the offense today. So Griff, we talked about Aaron Rodgers. You want him back? I don't think I want him back. No, I'm just kidding. Of course I want him back.
Yeah.
We want Aaron Rodgers back.
You're ready for the Love era.
Yes, yeah. I'm ready for the Jordan Love era. God, oh, goodness. All right, let's talk about Jordan Love. He's the next man up on this quarterback depth chart. 2 games this year, didn't play well in either of the games, but the situation is it a possible trade candidate situation if we decide to lock up Rodgers long term? Does that then turn to, let's maybe consider trading Jordan Love, get something of value now, and maybe use that to help build this roster right away to help win a championship? Or do we just keep him under Aaron Rodgers with the hope that he can continue to develop? And, I don't know what happens then, but what do we do with Jordan Love? That is the question. Do we just let him sit there and continue to sit? Or do we try to, or would you trade him potentially, or whatever else?
I don't think his value is very high right now because the 2 games he played in did not look good. And I think the fact that Green Bay is so insistent on bringing Rodgers back, and they've been for 2 seasons now, I think that tells you a lot about Jordan Love because, yes, Rodgers is a Hall of Famer. Yes, Rodgers is maybe the greatest of all time, one of the most talented throwers of the football of all time, back-to-back MVP. Of course they want to bring him back, but imagine if they had, I think it was at Not Joe Flacco on Instagram who first made this point, but imagine they had like a Justin Herbert. Imagine if Jordan Love looked like Justin Herbert in practice, and he showed flashes of just Justin Herbert levels of play on the field in the games that he did play. You don't think Green Bay would be ready to move on by now, knowing the haul they could get for Rodgers right now? Because there's a chance that Rodgers next year, he's not as good, and his stock is going to go way down. Right now, last season, we thought it was the highest it's going to be. Right now, it's still at that level. Like, Denver would probably give us 3 firsts and a couple players, maybe. So, the fact that Green Bay is not ready to move off of Rodgers, I think that tells you a lot of what they think of Jordan Love. And, I mean, we've seen him play too. We've seen him play, and of course, there's still time for him to develop into something better than he's been shown to be at this point. But I mean, there's not a whole lot of confidence in that because we didn't see any flashes. That's the big thing that we kept saying, Bron. We didn't see any flashes. We didn't see any big time throws. We didn't see anything that made us say, now that is the future of this franchise. It was his best throws were just being a game manager. And at that point, we can just trade for Marcus Mariota. But back to your original question, I don't see them trading Jordan Love this offseason. Maybe if he looks good in the preseason, they can get something for him next year. But, I mean, at this point, what could we possibly get for Jordan Love in a trade?
Yeah, that's the thing, Griff. The question is, what could they possibly get in a Jordan Love trade? And maybe they look into it after they get a Rodgers deal done, but they probably won't like anything that they get back unless a team saw something in him in the draft, didn't get a chance to draft him because we traded up for him, whatnot. I don't know what they'd be satisfied with. To me, it just makes sense to keep him on the roster at least until the preseason and see what's going on. But it just, like you said, doesn't make a lot of sense. So the only option really to me is to just let him continue to sit on the bench, and hopefully he can develop into a quality backup because really he's not even that yet. So that's the goal. I mean, he's got to take these small steps to get into that place, and so far he just hasn't done that. But like you said, no flashes yet. You wish, we're not being, Rodgers fans here of just like hoping that he's not good. If he was really, really good, like you said, if he was Justin Herbert, everybody gives him all these excuses like, oh, he's only been in the system for 2 years, and it's like, well, he's been sitting behind Aaron Rodgers for 2 years, and he's not a rookie anymore. Now he's 2 years in, and he's a first round pick. I don't know why the standard for play for Jordan Love is so small compared to these other guys who are getting cut after like 5 games. Like,
I mean, people treat it like he was drafted in the 5th or 6th round. Like,
people
of course,
treat it like
we're not expecting him to be an MVP at this point.
Oh, he's such a project. He's such a project. Like,
that's what it all comes back to, man. That's what the whole conversation comes back to. Is they traded up and used a first round pick on Jordan Love, which that's the issue there, man. And he's gonna be held to a high standard when you draft him in the first round.
That's the thing. I mean, now, to us, the way we look at it, he should not be given this long leash of, incapable play. Like, we have to see him make throws. Like, if he was throwing like Justin Herbert, It's like Justin Herbert went in that game in his rookie year, and he played really well. Joe Burrow had a great, like, these guys are first-round quarterbacks, like, you know what I mean? Like, they should be capable of showing something, and a lot of those guys have shown something. Jordan Love has not, and yet he continues to get this long leash, even though he's been in a better situation, not having to play in year 1, getting to play 2 games in year 2, and not showing anything. And this is after sitting behind the greatest quarterback, talent-wise, of our generation that we've ever seen, Griff. So I don't know why he's getting all these excuses from everybody and getting babied, frankly, but that's just the nature of, people just, it's the nature of being a fan, I guess. It's just people fan how they want to fan. I'll never understand it, but not much you can say, really.
I mean, the team itself, the Packers organization, is kind of in a good spot because you have to remember, after that 2019 season, it's not like Rodgers was playing at the level he did this year or last year. He did kind of appear to have one of those Peyton Manning's Big Ben kind of seasons where you could totally see him falling off. So it's not like it wasn't the most egregious thing ever. Would have helped if we could have gotten in and brought in another receiver or someone else other than a quarterback. But it's not the worst decision in the world. But at this point,
I hardly blame the organization at this point. It's not even. It's more so like the perspective on everything from the fans is like the idea that Jordan Love is the next guy, like he's this next, like what have you seen to make you think like you see these highlights of Jordan Love, like these, and it's like the most basic throws because he's never thrown like he just throws these basic footballs and they're not good throws like half the time, and like I don't know how you get highlights out of that, but like everybody's like, oh, Jordan Love is next up, and it's like you're just throwing him to this Hall of Fame conversation based on like an out route in the second half against the Detroit Lions. It's like,
most quarterbacks are bad, dude. Most quarterbacks are bad. Even first-round quarterbacks, most of them are bad. But the team is in a good spot here because they draft this guy. He's very raw, obviously still at this point not ready to be a starter. But they do have an opportunity to sit him down, let him learn, and there's still a, albeit smaller percentage now than it was when he was first drafted, but there's still a percent chance that he's able to become a good quarterback, just like Rodgers did. But I mean, it's so annoying for you and I when people compare him to Rodgers because, I mean, that was lightning in a bottle. First of all, how often does that happen? And second of all, Rodgers was supposed to be the number 1 overall pick, so completely different situation there. But the organization, I'm sure they're not very upset with the position that they're in.
Right. All right. Let's talk about Kurt Benkert a little bit. I mean, we saw him. We saw him make throws, Griff, in the preseason and stuff, but he looked pretty average as well. He was no worse than Jordan Love, no better either, I'd say. I mean, just another. He's a guy that they'll probably keep around as the third guy, just like Tim Boyle was at one point, and then whatever happens with Jordan Love, maybe Kurt develops into that second guy, but he's going to be around, I would say, unless something maybe they need an extra roster spot and put Kurt on the practice squad or something, but I expect him to stick around.
You want to go back and forth real quick with some number 3 quarterbacks? How about Manny Wilkins?
Ooh. How about Marquise Williams?
Marquise Williams? I don't remember him.
Wow. Okay. I thought your extensive knowledge was a little more far-reaching, Griff.
No. How about Tim Boyle? Boyle was a number 3 for a while.
He turned into the number 2, yeah.
He did turn as soon as we brought in Jordan Love. Wasn't Brett Hundley a 3?
Everybody starts as a 3 when you're drafted.
Everyone starts as a 3, I suppose. Jordan Love, former 3. How about Taysom Hill, former 3?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ooh, Bryce Callahan, is that his name?
Oh, yes.
No, that's the corner.
No, Joe Callahan.
Joe Callahan. That's the Broncos corner, former Bear corner. No, but Joe Callahan,
yeah. That was the Hundley year in 2017. Yeah. People really wanted Callahan to get in there, and then he comes in against Detroit, and I don't think he was very good.
See, these guys are actually flashing stuff. We've never seen that from Jordan Love. Like it's just mind blowing. It's mind blowing, really.
You think Joe Callahan showed more than Jordan Love has?
Probably, honestly, yeah. In the preseason, he was flinging that thing, man.
I think Tim Boyle had the highest passer rating in the preseason for like 3 years in a row.
So did Brett. No, Brett Hundley had that for a while.
Oh yeah, Brett Hundley was the ultimate preseason quarterback. That's right. All right, let's move on to receiver here. So, Davonte Adams. Let's get into this, Bron, because this also leaks over the week.
$30 million.
$30 million he's wanting per year. Obviously, right now is when agents are putting everything they can out to the news outlets. So, take that with a grain of salt. But Davonte, he's at least looking for around $30 million a year.
That's definitely more than DeAndre Hopkins' $27.5, which is the Packers didn't like that as being the number 1 contract at that position, and they wanted to give him somewhere around $25 million, and then Now Davonte wants not only more than DeAndre's 27.5, but he wants to be paid like a quarterback. $30 million is crazy, which, it's not my money, so I want him around, so whatever it takes is my opinion. If they can make it work, make it work. But, that is some number. That would be a just like every big contract is, but this really feels like it would be game-changing for that position for sure.
It would definitely be.
Do you have any issue with it, Griff? Do you have an issue with that number or not really?
I hate playing salary cap because we don't know anything about the salary cap. No one knows anything about the salary cap. Russ Ball is a genius. He knows what he's doing. So if he can figure out a way to get Davonte paid and make it on the books look okay and keep us under for a while, then more power to him. Davonte, this is where I always stand with players who want to get paid. Of course they deserve to get paid. They always deserve to get paid. And fans, they always signed with the teams. They always signed with the owners, which makes sense. They're fans of the team. But these players deserve to get paid. Davonte, he has been the best receiver in the world for multiple years in a row now. Of course he deserves that money, but there's a chance that Green Bay just can't afford that. And there is a chance, which probably more than likely at this point, that they are going to tag Davonte, bring back Rodgers, make this the actual true last dance. They could still tag him again in 2023. So, I don't know. It doesn't feel like they're going to give him that deal, though, and I feel like they're going to let him get that deal somewhere outside of Green Bay when it's actually time to blow up this roster, you know?
Yeah, the franchise tag is something that I think the plan will be place the tag on him, put him in a position where you're going to sign a deal with us, or you're going to play on the tag, and that gives Green Bay the leverage, and nobody wants the franchise tag as a player, but it does give Green Bay that leverage to be able to get him locked up, and that's the goal. In the end, everybody wants Davonte locked into a long-term situation. The money is the problem. I don't know how, Davonte posted something the other day. He said it's about the respect, then it's about the money. I think he's talking about the fact that the offers that he was receiving before the talks were kind of cut off prior to the start of the season, they were not in what he wanted. He felt disrespected. So the idea is first the money is the most clear signal of respect. The idea of the money being the thing that shows the player their worth, their value to the team. And if the Packers aren't showing that to Davonte, he feels disrespected thus. So that's the whole idea. It's just you have to figure out how to balance making the player feel like he's wanted with the understanding that maybe just monetarily, the Packers can't afford a certain thing or don't want to go in a certain direction with the money. So it's going to be a puzzle that they're going to have to solve, but obviously in the end we both want to make sure Davonte gets locked up into a long-term contract.
Right, and it does kind of suck for Davonte, though, because he doesn't know when Jordan Love's going to be given the keys. And would you want to play with nothing against Jordan Love here, just would you, if you're in your 30s, the best receiver in the league, would you want to start over and start working with a first-year starter at quarterback when you've been playing with Rodgers your whole career? No. And so, of course, I totally understand that Davonte probably wants to go somewhere else at some point.
I don't even think it's that. It's about Aaron Rodgers. It's about what is Aaron doing. I think Davonte would be open to staying with Jordan, but it would be about the money at that point. For that, he'd have to definitely make sure that he's getting $30 million probably per year. But I think he takes that deal regardless. Forget whatever happened. Maybe before Rodgers' decision is even made, Griff. Before that decision is even made about Rodgers, his cap number may still be the 46 or whatever that he's at, and Rodgers is still on this team, and we don't know what he's doing. And I think Davonte gets a $30 million deal, he'll take it from Green Bay. That's the thing. I don't think it's that really necessarily. Of course, we saw in that Chiefs game, Davonte was absolutely frustrated with Jordan Love and the fact that he just could not hit him, even though he was burning guys left and right. So it really is one of those things where you just don't know. But we're going to have to figure out how exactly they make it work. And I think it starts with making sure that Aaron Rodgers is there. And once they do that, it'll be easier for Davonte to probably sign on.
It should definitely be a priority, right? Because if you get Davonte signed long-term, then you move off of Rodgers at some point, you no longer have to pay Rodgers the money he's getting, and you can instead make Davonte that guy on your offense. You can give him the bulk of your money on offense. And, if Jordan Love doesn't pan out, then we're going to get a high draft pick, and then we can get a new quarterback in who's going to have the best receiver in the league to throw to. And that's going to help a lot for him. And then we get 5 years of that new rookie quarterback on a cheap deal. So, the Packers are in a good spot here, honestly. They're in a pretty good spot. And the salary cap, man, I always think of the Zadarius Smith year in 2019, that offseason, when we We got rid of McCarthy, LaFleur's first year, and we completely rebuilt the roster. And we signed. We were talking, Bron. We were posting all of our offseason plans on Instagram, and we were like, well, there's probably not a chance we can get two of these premier pass rushers. We end up getting Zadarius Smith, who got a way bigger deal than any of us were expecting, and we also got Preston Smith, who kind of got what we were expecting there. And it was like, how are they doing this? It's because they backload it. There's ways, like you said last week, there are loopholes that no one understands. So if there's a way that they can get a Davonte deal done this season, then more power to them. And that's great for this organization, but it's going to be a complicated situation for sure.
All right, let's talk about Randall Cobb, because he's a guy who is under contract, but set to be paid at $9 million next year, which is probably, they're not going to be able to work with that number probably. So to me, Griff, looking at Randall Cobb, I think he needs to be on this football team. He played well all year long when he was in there. I think he's valuable to Davonte for sure, and I think to that whole room because of his veteran presence and everything he's been doing. Great friends to all those guys too, and just a great guy in the locker room. So I think the idea would be, I think he'd be comfortable taking some kind of less money. If after they cut him, I think to bring him back wouldn't be that difficult, because he wants to be here, he wants to win. If Rodgers and Davonte and David and everybody's still here, I don't see why Randall Cobb wouldn't want to come back, even at a lower number.
Yeah, there's a chance that he's going to want money because he can still play, which, more power to him in that case. But if he wants to be here, then I'm absolutely for bringing him back on a cheaper number. But $9 million is a little bit too much for Randall Cobb's production, but like you said, he was really good for the 12 weeks he did play until he got injured. Obviously not a very big factor in the playoff game, but throughout the year he made a lot of clutch plays. Remember that? I think it was third and 20 something in Cincinnati. Remember that throw? One of Rodgers' best throws of the year, but of course it's Randall Cobb. I mean, that's the play I'm going to remember from Randall Cobb's 2021 season, and he adds a lot of value to this team on and off the field. So hopefully they can work that out and bring him back, because he loves being a Packer.
That's right, and we've got another guy who's loves being a Packer, but things are a little bit up in the air. He's a restricted free agent with Alan Lazard. I think we both agree that him being restricted gives the Packers the opportunity to put some kind of tender on him, whether it be a first round tender, if they which they probably won't do, a second round tender, which is possible, which means that and this means that if some other team were to sign Alan Lazard, they would have to give up a second round pick to the Packers. So it would be a trade of sorts. Or they may put the original round, which would be, in his case, undrafted tender, so they would not get anything in return. It would be a right of first refusal situation where Green Bay could sign him to any extension that another team gives him. So it's going to be interesting to see which one they give. But I'm pretty certain he'll be back on this football team as well.
Yeah, it sounds like it. He's been a good piece for many years now. Obviously, we really don't want him as that number 2 anymore, because he was good, but it's like it would be a lot nicer if we had someone a little bit better than Alan Lazard. But he's a great role player. He's made some great catches this year. Had a little bit of the dropsies for stretches in 2021, but overall, good player. Knows the offense, and he's been good for many years, so hopefully they can get him back.
Now, Griff, what do you do with MVS? Because he's unrestricted free agent. We don't know how much money he would command on the open market, because he hasn't done anything spectacular, really, but he has played well for Green Bay and is a great speed threat for Aaron Rodgers, and Rodgers obviously likes him. So what do we think here in terms of his future in Green Bay?
Well, the problem is that he's the only speed threat on this offense, which we talked about last week when we didn't have him. There's no one else who stretches the field even a little bit. So if they're not planning on bringing him back, then they're going to have another plan in place for someone with a little bit of speed who they can rely on. But MVS, he's another good role player. His best season came in 2020. He dealt with a lot of injuries in 2021, but he showed flashes of still being a very good player down the field. And in 2020, he was one of the best players in the league going down the field. So I don't know. I hope they can bring him back. Rodgers, remember the report? Was it this week or last week that Rodgers wanted to go to Denver, or he wanted to go somewhere, and he was pounding the table for Davonte and MVS.
But not Randall Cobb this time, I guess.
Not Randall Cobb, no. He doesn't want Randall, and he really wants MVS. That's such a weird thing.
Yeah, that's
no one gets more made
garbage.
up things made up about them than Rodgers does.
Nobody.
Yeah.
I'll take MVS at something a little bit. I don't know what kind of money he would get. I really have no idea. I could see him. I
feel like a lot of these guys,
$6 million.
We should just give these guys some short deals, because
1 year, $6 million MVS. We should do that. That's my
Judgment Day is coming for this franchise. It's not going to be this year, but it's coming. So just give these guys, short deals, not a lot of money. Say, have a good season with Aaron Rodgers in one of his final years, and you're going to get paid after that. Maybe that's what they pitched to MVS. Maybe.
And then in that same vein, we've got other guys on this receiving core that are, free agents, and another one is EQ. They could probably get him back at the vet minimum. I wouldn't be surprised if he's back. But then again, I could see them letting him walk. But then again, like I said, the money there won't be an issue. So if they want him back, they can probably get him.
EQ's a guy I just wish they would give more opportunities to. I mean, what they're worried about there maybe people see Amon-Ra coming out in his rookie season in Detroit, and they're like, maybe the same blood, we can get that out of him. I mean, us, Bron, we love EQ. We've been a fan of his since he was drafted in 2018. So I still think there's a lot of potential with him.
I do too. So I would bring him back because he can do things on special teams, and of course we've seen him make plays for this offense too. So I say bring him back as maybe that last guy on the depth chart. I think that's, to get him on the vet minimum as a free agent, I wouldn't mind that at all. Malik Taylor, he's exclusive rights, so he'll be back on a small tender for sure, as another one of those depth guys probably. The last one we'll talk about, Amari Rogers. He's on the roster. He didn't do much on offense this year. Little bit in spurts to start the season in some motion stuff, but then moved towards the special teams role pretty much.
He disappeared from the offense.
Yeah,
man. Even when Cobb was out, which was the craziest part. Even when Cobb was out, he wasn't getting on the field.
Yeah, but he's obviously he's on his 4-year deal. This will be the second year coming up, so he will stick around. With that, let's move on to the running backs, Griff.
Okay, before we get into the running backs, I have to mention how depressing it is that we're talking about this as my family gathers in the living room to watch the AFC Championship game. Ugh. How much does it suck that we're doing this? All right, on to the running backs.
Aaron Jones, so he's got $9 million on his contract this year in 2022 coming up. The numbers get pretty steep after this 2022 season, but we got to bring him back, right? I don't see any scenario in which they cut him unless things get really murky, but he should be back, and we all love Aaron Jones and think he's a spectacular player, so he should be back.
Great player. And at times when the offense wants to feature him, he, like against the 49ers on Saturday, he was at times the only thing that were moving the chains for us on offense, and we've seen that happen too. When Matt LaFleur wants to feature him, when he's a part of the game plan, he's a great player in the passing game and on the ground. Feature point of this offense, so yeah, no point in getting rid of him.
A.J. Dillon's a guy we talked about a lot this past year, and we've had him on the show before, and
people forget that.
People do forget that. I think we were his first interview as a rookie, and now here we are, and he's playing like a superstar player on this football team at the running back position. Obviously, on his rookie deal, he's expected to stick around for sure.
Yeah, he was the number 2 ranked running back, and according to PFF, behind Jonathan Taylor. It's pretty cool. He averaged 4.3 yards per carry, which isn't great, but he is one of those guys that, he's getting an actual 4 yards every time he touches the ball because he's going to run right through people even if the blocking's not great. He's only had 9 carries in 2021, over 10 yards. So that 4.3 number, that's a true 4.3 yards per attempt.
Let's talk about Kylan Hill, Griff. He got injured pretty early on, but showed some stuff on offense and on special teams as well. So what do you think of Kylan Hill?
You think I'm gonna have a hot take for Kylan Hill?
Give me your grueling thoughts on Kylan Hill.
I think he's the future Barry Sanders of the NFL. No, I mean, he's nice. He did show a lot of flashes. Not a lot of flashes, but he showed some promise there when he was the number 3 running back before he got injured. So, and he was effective on special teams, which we were running out of players who we could say that about by the end of the season. So, I'm excited for him to come back.
In that same vein, Griff, Patrick Taylor, he kind of showed some stuff for us when he ran the ball a little bit. He could do stuff on special teams. He's under contract. He'll probably stick around, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I would say so.
With that, let's move on to the tight end position where things get a little more murky for most of these guys. Let's start with Big Dog, Mercedes. He had that big fumble in the game that really cost us in the end. There's a lot of things that cost us, but if you look to any point that really changed us on offense for the rest of the game, it was that fumble. Would have put us up 14-0. Man, he didn't. That was the first time in 8 years he fumbled.
First time he lost a fumble, yeah.
Unbelievable.
God, man. Why did that change the game? Why did a Mercedes Lewis fumble completely change the game on offense?
Momentum, man. It just swung
know.
it all the way through, and now he's under contract, but is this a guy that we would potentially cut? I don't know. He's so valuable to the locker room. He is one of the true locker room leaders.
What's his salary next year? What's his cap hit?
$2.445 million.
Okay. They're probably going to keep him under contract, right?
Yeah, I don't see a scenario in which they... maybe he retires. It's possible.
Maybe he retires, yeah. He could kind of take the shine away from Tom Brady. Get all the media's attention there.
There you go. So, I don't know. Do you think he should be back? Like, would you prefer him back, or do you really think
so.
maybe it's time?
I think in the same vein as Randall Cobb, Randall Cobb gives you more on the field, but Mercedes is such a leader in the locker room, especially for those tight ends, man. The tight ends, we've had how many of them on the show? They all love Mercedes. I think 3 tight ends. We had Sternberger, DeGuara, and Daphne. Yeah. So they all love Mercedes. He's a great leader. And losing the tight ends coach, maybe he can become the tight ends coach. How crazy would that be?
He basically is the tight ends coach anyway.
He pretty much is, yeah. I would like to see him on the field a little bit less, not going to lie.
Well, it's just good to have him, I guess. And that number's a little much, but I don't know. They paid him last year, so he's still under contract. They'll probably keep him around. Robert Tunyon's the interesting one, though, because he's been the star in that group. Didn't play as well this year. Then got hurt, ACL. We don't know what his situation is in terms of what his money will be like if he was to be re-signed. And also we don't know if he'll be starting week 1 because his injury could take him a bit deeper in the next season. So we're really not sure what his status is going to be. Do you think they should, and will they bring him back, Griff?
I don't know, man. It all depends on the figure because it depends on what other teams are willing to pay for him, because there's a chance that other teams are going to want to give him a big deal because he had that big season in 2020, but he wasn't looking like that same player in 2021, and I feel like a lot of his success in 2020 was scheme-related. But also this season when he went out, there wasn't really a tight end who was able to take that production back because of the scheme. So I don't know. It's a big toss-up. That's my answer for a lot of these questions. I don't know. Robert Tonyan, if he wants to come back, and we're not going to be able to pay a lot of these guys big money. So if he wants to come back on a cheaper deal than he would get elsewhere, then I would love to have him back.
The problem is, Griff, if Robert Tonyan was to leave, we'll be in a position where we're going to need some help from a vertical standpoint at that position.
Well, you don't trust Tyler Davis? He had that nice catch in Baltimore.
The one catch. I mean, this is the problem. We've been sticking with a lot of these undrafted guys at that position for a while.
Yeah, that's the one thing Rodgers hasn't really had since Jermichael Finley. Richard Rodgers was the starter for a number of years, but he was never a really good option to have as your starting tight end. So Robert Tonyan, we thought he was going to be that, but this season he didn't really match that potential. So we'll see, man. We'll see. I mean, as far as people who want to make a big splash move, I'm sick of the big splash moves at tight end. Jimmy Graham and Martellus Bennett have scarred me as a Packers fan. I'm done with the tight ends.
So what do you want to do? What's the solution?
Just go with DeGuara. I think DeGuara, 3rd round pick. I feel like that's a draft pick a lot of people don't talk about enough. 3rd round pick, there's a chance he can get better as he goes on. And Rodgers could have hit him on a big 3rd down on Saturday's game, so that would have been nice. But he did have that big drop, so I don't know. I would say bring back Tonyan back if he wants to take a discount. And if not, DeGuara, I'm more than happy with him being our number 1 option.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I love Josiah. That would be, he'd have to develop for sure. Like, we need to see him grow for sure.
He's definitely going to have to grow.
Yeah, because that's a project situation we'd be in. I mean, to have, I get it. Like, he made that great play against the Lions, the big 60 whatever yard touchdown.
Oh yeah, he did. Forgot about that.
That was cool.
Forgot about a lot of plays from that game. Remember that touchdown in Minnesota? Rodgers rolling left.
Yeah.
He made some plays.
Yeah, he can make plays. We gotta make sure, like, he's had drops before and stuff. But yeah, I do think DeGuara could be that guy. It'd just be nice to have a little, maybe pair that with a veteran that can also run downfield. Like, we just a cheap, a minimum guy. Then we've got, if we had Mercedes, DeGuara, and then a veteran that can run a little bit, that's fine with me.
MVP of the tight end room, friend of the show, Dominic Daphne. He's an RFA, correct? Or is he in it?
Exclusive rights, so he'll be back.
Wow. Yeah.
Which is nice. Nice to have him back, of course.
Maybe he can come back on the show.
Oh, yeah. We'll have him back when we're in the same position next year, number 1 seed on the bye week.
And we'll tell him, this is our year, right? And he'll say, yep, this is our year. Or I hope so, which he always says. And then and we'll be right back where we are right now. All right, moving on to the O-line, correct?
What about Tyler Davis? We didn't...
Tyler Davis, I mean, you want my Tyler Davis take. Is he an IRFA or is he under contract?
He is under contract for this year as $895,000, but if we cut him, there will be that his deal is non-guaranteed, so we could save $895,000 against the cap.
I don't know. Depends on what else they do at that position.
It depends what they need money-wise.
I mean, he's not going to be your starter.
He's not. No. Yeah. Well, we kind of had him. We did have him at this point in this year, starting a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. All right, O-line. This is the thing that kind of cost us our season. 2 years in a row now. David Bakhtiari not being on the field. It definitely would have helped, but next year we're going to have David Bakhtiari back, and assuming that all things go well and we don't have another Bakhtiari situation, we're going to have Elton Jenkins back on the field too. So those are two of the most important players on this team. They're going to be back on the field, and they never played together at all this season. So
that should be a boost definitely going to give them a boost, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when you look at it like that, it's like those are two of our big free agent signings.
Yep. And so I guess we're both in agreement that David should stick around, obviously, even though the injury, we need him to be on this football team. He's just got this new deal from last year. So we both agree he should be around. And same thing with Elton, right? I mean, he's coming up on a contract year in 2023, but as of right now, still on his rookie deal. An extension might be in the works, maybe not this offseason, but next offseason or sometime around during the season.
Cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be... Yeah,
he is so good.
Yeah.
Man, it sucks not having him. Would have
I
really
know.
helped if we had Elton, man.
Yeah, because he could really fill any position at a high level, and instead we were putting in Lucas Patrick all over and whatnot. But all right, Griff, then let's talk about Bill Turner. He is under contract, but he's got a $9 million salary. He's a guy that could be a cap casualty. That's a lot of money for a guy who...
That is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. It's just, he's a valuable player, but he could play right tackle for us, but also... maybe they just look to save some money in that spot. I don't know. Do you think he stays? Should he stay? What do you think?
That feels like a give him an extension and push the money back type of deal, no?
Maybe,
I mean, $9 million for an starting caliber offensive lineman, not the worst deal in the world.
No, it's not. It's not a bad deal for him. I think it's just the money. I mean, if you talk about David Bakhtiari making 22 next year, I don't think that's unreasonable for Bill to make 9.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure.
Obviously, would like to have him back.
I'd like him to stick around. I think we should do whatever it takes to kind of keep him. Whether it's like we have to extend him and push some money out, and lower his number for 2022, or to just keep him on this deal and have him go in as a lame duck going into free agency after this year. Whatever the case is, I think I'd like him to remain in Green Bay.
Yeah, we have a lot of versatility on the offensive line. Keeping those guys is definitely Lucas Patrick, another versatile guy. Going to be a free agent, correct?
Yeah, he'll be a free agent. I think his time is up. We gave him one extension. Didn't play well a lot, in a lot of spots since then. I think he's probably out the door.
At times, he was the worst player on the line.
Yeah.
But it's tricky, though, because he is a starting caliber guy who, I mean,
not
maybe
anymore,
they just
man.
like him.
He was an undrafted free agent, man. I'm just about ready to... I'm about ready to hang it up for Lucas, man. I don't know. He might get more money than in another place, and it'll just kind of answer the question for us, I would say. Just because he's played with Rodgers, he's been on a good offensive line. He hasn't played awful. He's played in decent spots. He can play a little bit. He's a versatile guy who could play center if he needs to. So he's probably done in Green Bay. But the guys that they have kind of built in now are John Runyon, Royce Newman, and Josh Myers, who will, they're on their rookie deals. They'll be kind of in this offensive line for the future and the present, really. And then,
as bad as a year as Royce had, I trust the Packers so much when it comes to O-linemen that I'm confident he's going to be better in the future. Same with Myers and same with Runyon.
Yeah, I think all three of those guys are going to be in the picture for us in that spot. And then you talk about Dennis Kelly, who's a free agent. I don't know what they'll do with him. Rodgers likes him, but he didn't play well in the playoff game. Played a little bit better during the regular season when he had to come in. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him. Maybe they can get him back really cheap. I could see that. But anything more than the market value of a veteran minimum, I would pass.
Yeah, he's kind of the 2021 Valdir signing, though.
Yeah. And then, so maybe he's out, you thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking he's out.
Okay. And, then we've got one restricted guy, Josh Neyman played really well when he was in at times. He'll be back on some tender. We're not sure, but he should be back. We both agree that he will and
Hopefully,
should be
yes.
back.
Yeah. That's great Bakhtiari's insurance there.
Yeah, it is, because he's filled in at left and right before, and he's athletic, really fast compared to some of these other guys. Like, you watch him on the tape running downfield, he's just a faster guy athlete-wise compared to guys like Lucas Patrick and others. So he's just a faster guy. So it's great to have him as an athlete type, similar to what Elton can do for us as an athlete, which is good.
And he ranks highly on the best Packers names rankings there. Josh Neyman, great name. Elton Jenkins, Darnell Savage. Packers have a lot of great names. Equanimous St. Brown. Got to bring EQ back just for that reason, no?
There you go.
Dominique Daphne. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's
it never ends with this team, man.
Yep. All right,
Marquez Valdez Scantling.
You're going at it there, Griff. Yeah, well, how about Aaron Rodgers? How about that one?
That's a great name, man. Aaron
Best
Rodgers.
name in sports.
That is a great name. Who was it? Shannon Sharp, who said that LeBron's mom knew he was going to be the GOAT. That's why she named him LeBron.
What does that even mean?
LeBron is just a great name.
It is a great name.
But then you've got Michael Jordan, which is kind of pretty basic name. Kevin
Durant. He made it not basic, like Michael Jordan. It's so basic.
Michael
that
Jordan
like
now means yes,
world renowned. Yeah. It's like
If you're named Michael Jordan, it's like, oh, your mom really liked the '90s Bulls, huh?
Okay, well, we're getting a little off topic.
I mean, that's it. That's it for the offense, no?
Yeah, that's it. So we'll do the defense next week. It's not too much to talk about this week, but we'll be back. Defense next week is a lot to talk about. And special teams, which I'm sure everybody wants to hear. So
yes, today's pretty depressing.
Griff, did you want to go over your hot takes?
Depressing. Yeah, so I just asked for this probably, 2 hours ago. Let's see. I'm sure everyone's got their hot takes about how bad Rodgers is and how much Davonte costs this team. So let's see. Myers_50 says, keeping Aaron and Davonte hurts our team for years. I disagree. Tell me why you disagree, Bron.
Why do I disagree?
I'm sure all of these are going to be a variation of that same hot take.
Yeah, okay. So why do I disagree with having Aaron and Davonte? Well, I think having the two best players in football is pretty cool. That's probably...
Yeah, it is cool. Yeah,
I like it. I don't know. I like winning, too.
Best duo in the league. I mean, this is the same thing as the Jordan Love discussion, because if we go all out to bring back Rodgers and Davonte and even get one more Super Bowl, it's worth it. It doesn't matter how bad, how long we're bad for, you know?
Yeah. Be careful what you wish for. They don't understand. They do not understand what it would be like to not have these guys. They're taking it for granted. It's a shame, and it's not much they can do because it's just all we've had. The amazing quarterback play for the last 30+ years. I mean, it has been incredible to watch. The receivers talent, when you talk about Jordy and all the guys that Favre had with now Davonte and everybody else, Randall Cobb still being around, like, we've had so much talent on offense. They don't understand what it would be like to have Jordan Love and Juwan Winfrey as our starters on offense. They just wouldn't get it.
It would only be good in getting us a high draft pick.
That's about it. And anybody who wants to see that, that's a full year of not winning. And we haven't had that. We've never been through a season, even when Rodgers was injured and everything else, there was always the hope that they could get to the playoffs by some magic at his hands. And they've done it before, and that's why we've always had that hope, because we started 4-6 and we finished 10-6 and went to the playoffs. And it's like
he gives you a ticket to the dance every single year.
Every single year, Griff. And that's the problem. These fans don't get it. Jordan Love gives you a ticket to nowhere. Right now, we'd be getting a ticket to the number 1 overall pick if we had Jordan Love starting without Davonte Adams.
I have to say, this is reminding me a lot of Favre has taken us to the Super Bowl, Rodgers has taken us to the toilet bowl.
That's exactly what I thought of when I said it.
Okay,
it's the truth, though. It is. Yeah. It's a little different. Aaron Rodgers is a little bit different. Yeah.
Okay,
this time it's true.
Alberto Diaz says, A.J. Dillon better than Aaron Jones. I love both, but it's just facts. You agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
It depends what you look for in a running back. Because in my running back, I would like to have more of an Aaron Jones style of play where he can be a factor in the passing game. But if you want your hardcore, run it up the middle, truck some guys, A.J. Dillon's your guy, and he's great at that. But
yeah, they do things differently.
The truth is they complement each other so well.
They're the best duo in terms of, like you just said, complementary-wise. The fact that the smash mouth that A.J. Dillon's able to play, versus what Aaron Jones does as a slasher and a pass catcher. But the problem is now, Griff, they've both done a little bit of what each other does, like, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like Aaron Jones, he's so good at creating his own yardage, and he does a lot of that tough running that A.J. Dillon's, we always talk about him. And then A.J. Dillon goes out, he's catching passes, he could be a slasher, he's got a lot of speed as well. So they both really do it all, and they do it at a high level. And I don't think either one of them is better than the other at this point. I just think they're both spectacular at what they do best, and it's great to have them both.
Yeah, I like to think of Aaron Jones as more of in the Christian McCaffrey vein of running backs, where he's going to be able to create yardage when you give him the handoff, and he's also going to be a mega factor in the passing game, which I think makes him more valuable of a player. But A.J. Dillon, let's see if he keeps progressing, because he's on a pretty good trajectory here. Jesus Modesto says we choke. Yep, usually.
Hot take there.
German F. Mar says, Adams and Tunyon stay, Rodgers is out. Imagine a situation where that happens.
Ugh, I don't like that.
That would be, yeah, I mean,
they just
if
be
Rodgers is out.
They go, so now the idea is we're not going to baby Jordan Love anymore. We're just going to throw him into the fire of having to now replace Aaron Rodgers and lead this run-it-back effort. At being a worse quarterback, that would be something. I doubt it highly. If Rodgers isn't there, there's not much point of trying to assemble a roster, because then we're sitting at...
Exactly.
I mean, like, let's say Jordan Love develops or whatever. Maybe we win. Griff, you pointed out 6 games. You put that number out there. I think that's ridiculous. But let's say we were to win 6 games. Then we're sitting at, like, the number 13 pick, maybe. Like, and it's like, well, you know what I mean? Like, what's the point of that? But... I don't know.
I think Jordan Love could win 6 games with this roster.
I think that's ridiculous.
I mean, with the free agents, it's not going to be this roster. But Frisbee Q says, Adams and Rodgers to Pittsburgh, Cobb retires. I mean, it does feel like whenever we move on from them, if we move on from them, they are going to try and stick together, as Brady and Gronk did. They kind of set the standard there, winning a title in Tampa Bay. So maybe that happens. Pittsburgh could definitely be a place if we are to move on, but I don't think we're moving on.
Yeah, maybe.
Kind of leads into this take from ARod_2901. He says, the future isn't so promising. I disagree, man. I disagree. Look on the bright side. If we can franchise Davonte, bring back Rodgers for 1 year, maybe 2 more years, then we can maybe win a Super Bowl, get a deal done with Davonte. When Rodgers is out, Davante's still going to be here, and we're going to be able to bring in a young quarterback, or maybe just start Jordan Love, and we're going to have Davonte, and we're going to still have these pieces.
You don't think Rodgers is going to retire in Green Bay, do you?
I have no idea.
I think he will.
I have no clue. I have no idea what's going to happen.
As of now, if I had to guess, I'd say he retires in Green Bay.
I hope so. That would be awesome. After we win the Super Bowl, that would totally be awesome. Yeah.
It would be good. That would it would make everything feel so much better, because, like, who wants to see Aaron Rodgers on another football team? I certainly don't. Anybody who does that's not the way I would act. I would not appreciate seeing Aaron Rodgers in another uniform throwing to, especially if Davonte is with him. That would just be sickening. Who would want to see that? Not me.
Taylor_Freeborn says 2 words. Chris Godwin. I'm assuming she's talking about. I'm assuming she means the potential of signing Chris Godwin, who is a free agent.
The money just doesn't make sense for us free agent-wise.
We don't have the money.
This is the one year where the free agent talk is probably not going to be too much of outside guys.
We literally have no money.
And we have enough of our own guys we got to bring back.
Yeah, we just got to bring back our own guys here. So.
It's about the small veteran minimum type deals that we could easily get from guys that would want to come play for Aaron Rodgers and Davonte Adams. And if Aaron Rodgers is there... Like, last year, Rodgers wasn't there during the free agent portion. His money was still on their books. They couldn't make any free agent signings. This year, if they have guys automatically, like, in the free agent market with Rodgers under contract, happy and ready to play, then he could be helping recruit guys that are veterans that are coming off deals. And if they want to win a championship, Rodgers will be right at the forefront with the new relationship with the front office that he has, Brian Gutekunst, his voice now being heard, having a seat at the table. That will be utilized in free agency to potentially add some guys on veteran minimum deals that want to come play for Rodgers and Davonte Adams and Matt LaFleur and try to win a championship in Green Bay.
We've got to find this offseason's version of Devondre Campbell while also bringing back Devondre Campbell.
And Rasul Douglas.
Yeah. This one from Num... These usernames, man. Num UH4th. Packers get aggressive and trade Aaron Jones for a missing piece. Now, I don't know about necessarily...
That would be throwing
Aaron
away
Jones.
A missing piece for a potential missing piece. He is the missing piece if he's gone.
Yeah, he adds a lot to this offense, so... I don't know, but maybe. What do you think of the idea of trading someone, a high caliber player, for a missing piece, Bron?
To point to somebody in particular, I mean, who you're talking about? So we're talking about a high caliber piece to maybe swap something for something else. That's tough. I mean, you look at our.
I feel like Aaron Jones. If you're looking for a guy who fits that mold, Aaron Jones is one of them because we do have. He's
probably
AJ Dillon.
If they were to do it, yeah. Just because he's got the contract and we do have AJ Dillon, so that's one you would point to. Maybe if they were to do, I would say maybe Darnell Savage, just because he didn't play great last year. I like Darnell. I would like to keep him, but if we're like picking something, maybe one of the safeties, but I just don't see them making that kind of move. What would they get back in return that would put them over the hump anymore? It's tough to see.
I have no idea. It would have to be a receiver. That's like the only thing. Well, it depends how this roster looks next year. But I don't know. It kind of ties into this question from Aiden_looks12. We don't need D-Bach to be successful, and we could cut him.
That would be dumb.
I mean, that's a hot take.
That is a hot take. The problem is, though, is we did need him, and we didn't have him, and we lost.
We did need him. Yeah,
we did. So that kind of is invalid.
Game, so.
I mean, we watched us not win without him.
But I mean, there is something to say about how for most of the season we were a functioning offense without great offensive line.
This is the playoffs. When you get to the playoffs and you got good pass rushers, hard to win without your best blocking tackle in the NFL.
Yeah, when you're I get the argument that one singular O-lineman doesn't really make a difference, but when he's the best pass blocking left tackle in the league and you have a superstar quarterback who you would like to keep healthy, I mean, it kind of adds a little bit more value there. Oh, this one's good from Steve_Bates. We win 2 of the next 3 Super Bowls, then the dark days. I will take the dark days.
Die for that.
I will take the dark days, dude.
That's all we asked for, man. Oh my gosh, 2. Oh my gosh, I would die for that. That's incredible. I would love that. I mean, give it to me, man. I don't even care. Well, the problem is I think one of them would have to come next year. Otherwise, I don't see if they next year is probably unless Rodgers is in there long term, it would be tough to see them not win it next year, and then have to pull themselves together to win it again. But
there is an alternate reality. There's an alternate reality where the Packers won the Super Bowl in 2020 and they're going to win it this year.
I wish we were there.
It's totally feasible. Back-to-back years of being the best team in the NFL. Neither years did we win the Super Bowl. Okay. Andrew_Kuttner says, D-Bach wins Comeback Player of the Year. That would be something.
That would be good. Has an offensive lineman
and the NFL doesn't... I don't think so. The NFL doesn't give that award to anyone. To any offensive lineman, sorry.
I think it's... I mean, I don't know. It would be cool. He could do it.
Ooh, this one's hot from Reese English. I feel like a lot of people feel this way. We don't need Adams to win. Never overpay for a receiver or a running back. Games are won in the trenches.
So then what do we do? So what's the plan? I mean, I'm asking, what is the plan then? Because if we don't have Davonte, I mean, that doesn't help anybody. What do we do then? Because then we're throwing to Juwan Winfrey.
This is a unique situation where we literally don't have any other receivers. And for so long, Davonte has been our only receiver, and we've been begging for another receiver. Without Davonte, we literally have nobody. So it's kind of a unique situation here. But I kind of disagree with his theory of never overpaying for receivers.
The problem is we don't. It's tough because, yes, I get the idea. Rodgers is all over Davonte when it's just him out there. But if we get another guy in the first round, trade up for him. That's the Super Bowl move we haven't made. We've been waiting for this team to trade up for a wide receiver early in the draft. If we finally make that kind of move, then we're talking about we need Davonte because those two guys, the draft pick and Davonte, open up the field for each other. They eliminate the double teams. It would be difficult to... That's the one thing we haven't had on this offense. We've had everything else. Every other thing you could think of. The only thing we haven't done is draft a receiver early in the first round. And if we do that, it'll put us over the hump. That's the one thing we haven't done. And if we do that on offense, it gives us the chance to invigorate ourselves, provide something new to the table, and that'll give us the best chance to win. That's the one thing we haven't done. Time to do it.
I agree. I also think that receivers are pretty valuable. Like running backs, obviously I wouldn't pay for a running back because it's kind of the general consensus now that running backs rushing success is mostly a product of your offensive line, but receivers, having a good receiver, man, is really, really valuable. Imagine these teams without Davonte Adams, or if Davonte was just a little bit worse. I don't think we have as much success these past 2 seasons as we've had, and I certainly don't think Rodgers wins 2 MVPs. So I think receivers are pretty important, and Davonte is really good. So I'm willing to give him a big deal. All right, I think I'm gonna save some of these for next week's episode because there are a lot of them. I haven't even scratched the surface here, so we're going to get into some more of those next week. But if you listen this far, thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week to discuss the defense. Same show as today, but we're going to be talking about the defense, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for listening this far. Make sure to rate us 5 stars, share it with your friends and family, subscribe on all platforms if you want to go out of your way to do that. We really appreciate it. Send us a DM if you listen this far. We always appreciate when you do that, and maybe we'll put you on the story. We've been trying to do that these past couple months, so send us a DM if you listen this far. Thank you so much. And you can follow me on Instagram at AllDayPackers, and you can follow Bron on Instagram at Lambo.Leapers, and we'll see you next week. Go Pack Go.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Go Pack Go.